Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open the official study guide for one of the most critical certifications out there, the ASE A5 Brakes Test. We're going to lay out exactly what you need to know to nail it.
So how do you prove you're the real deal when it comes to brakes? Well, for any professional auto tech, the answer is certification. It's the industry standard that tells everyone you've got the skills to handle the systems that keep people safe. And this guide? It's the roadmap.
We're going to be using this Motor Age self-study guide as our source today. We'll walk through all the key systems, the core principles, and the diagnostic thinking that the National Institute for Automotive Service Excellence, ASE, expects you to have mastered.
All right, let's dive right in by looking at the challenge itself. What does the ASE A5 test actually cover? Knowing the layout of the exam is, believe me, half the battle.
Yep, ASE has been the gold standard since way back in 1972. Getting that patch on your shoulder isn't just about proving you know your stuff today. It shows you're committed to keeping up with technology that's changing faster than ever. It tells everyone you're a true professional.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how they break down the test. Hydraulic systems, and that includes things like power assist and parking brakes, make up a massive 43% of the questions. Whoa. Then you have disc brakes at 24%, and right behind that, electronic controls at 22%. Drum brakes are the smallest piece at 11%. So the biggest takeaway here? You absolutely have to know hydraulics inside and out.
So let's start right there with that all-important hydraulic system. It's really the heart and soul of pretty much every modern braking system on the road. I mean, seriously, think about it. It kind of feels like magic, doesn't it? A light little push with your foot, and thousands of pounds of steel just stop. Well, it's not magic. The secret is actually a basic law of physics figured out all the way back in the 17th century. And here it is, Pascal's law. It's the secret sauce. Because brake fluid is a liquid, you can't really compress it. So any force you apply with your foot on that pedal gets sent straight through the fluid. But here's the kicker. It allows for force multiplication. A tiny bit of pressure on the small piston in the master cylinder creates a huge amount of force on the bigger pistons out at the wheel. And this right here, this shows the evolution of safety perfectly. On the left, you've got an old-school single-circuit system. If that one line failed, well, you lost all your brakes. Scary stuff. But modern systems, like the one on the right, use a dual-circuit master cylinder. It's basically two brake systems in one box, which means even if one circuit fails, you still have braking on at least two wheels. Let's look inside this thing. You can see how it works. There are two separate pistons there, one behind the other. When you hit the pedal, the first piston moves and builds pressure in its own circuit, but that pressure also pushes on the second piston, which pressurizes a totally separate circuit. It's such an elegant design, and it's what keeps you safe if one half of the system springs a leak. Okay, so we've got this multiplied hydraulic force, and it's being sent down the lines to the wheels. But then what? What are the parts that actually do the work of creating friction and stopping the car? Well, that force gets applied to one of two main brake types. Disc brakes, which you'll find on the front of almost every car now, and drum brakes, which are still pretty common on the rear. They both use friction to get the job done, but they go about it in completely different ways. And you can see that difference clearly here. On the left, the disc brake. The caliper acts like a big C-clamp, squeezing pads against a spinning rotor. Simple. On the right, you've got the drum brake. Here, the hydraulic pressure pushes brake shoes outward against the inside of a spinning drum. Discs are usually way better at getting rid of heat, but drums can have a lot more little parts to worry about. So the hydraulics and the mechanical parts are the muscle of the system. But for the last few decades, brakes have also had a brain. And these modern electronic controls have made cars unbelievably safer. You can really see how the tech has evolved in layers. We started with just standard brakes. Then came the big one, anti-lock brakes, or ABS, to stop you from skidding in a panic. Then we built on top of that with traction control, or TCS, and electronic stability control, ESC, which are smart enough to manage the car's stability when you're turning or accelerating. An ABS system is pretty genius. It uses sensors on each wheel to watch how fast it's spinning. If the computer senses a wheel is about to lock up and skid, it tells a hydraulic modulator to pulse the brake pressure to that wheel. We're talking way, way faster than any human could ever pump the pedal. The huge benefit? It lets you keep steering control while you're slamming on the brakes.
And what's really amazing is that traction and stability control use the same basic parts as ABS, those wheel speed sensors, and that modulator. They just have smarter software and a couple of extra sensors that measure things like your steering angle. This lets them do even more, like cutting engine power or braking just one single wheel to stop you from sliding out in a corner.
Okay, so now you know what's on the test. Let's talk about how they ask the questions. This is key because the format is designed to test your real-world diagnostic skills, not just your ability to memorize parts. The ASE test uses a few unique question styles you got to be ready for. You'll get straight-up direct questions, sure, but you'll also see most likely questions, where you have to pick the best answer out of a few good ones. They also love to flip it on you with accept or least likely questions, where you're actually looking for the wrong answer. And then, of course, there's the famous Technician A, Technician B. This is the classic diagnostic scenario. They give you a problem, like a pulsation in the pedal, and then two techs offer up their theories. You have to decide, is Tech A right, is Tech B right, are they both right, or are they both completely wrong? It forces you to really think through the symptoms and weigh each possibility. And you know, at the end of the day, that's what this all boils down to. Passing the ASE A5 isn't just about being able to name a part on a diagram. It's about having a deep understanding of how all these complex systems work together, and, more importantly, using that knowledge to figure out why they fail. That ability to diagnose the root cause of a problem, now, that is the true mark of a certified expert.